My name's Rebecca and I'm a no-dig gardener in Central Virginia, and this year I have been doing, as all years, monthly garden tours, sometimes twice a month. And so now it's time for my September 1st garden tour. Now, many people love garden tours and lots of people don't. So if you're one of the people that doesn't like a garden tour and a longer video to have them, run along, it's fine. No harm, no foul, and you can check back for shorter videos later. For those of you who do like garden tours, well, here we go. And we're going to start outside my garden. Well, I call it outside the garden because it's outside the fenced area. Therefore, it's more vulnerable to critters, particularly deer and rabbits and foxes and whatever. But that's the way it goes, so goes. Maybe one of these days I'll get a big perimeter fence, but don't have it at the moment. So we're now in literally the first day of September, and my garden is still in summer mode, but it's also transitioning into fall garden. I have been planting several things that are just, some haven't come up yet, and some are just now coming up. So let's go ahead and take a look at what's happening in the garden here as September rolls in. You can see it's kind of breezy today. We've had a cooler August than usual, which has been nice because the heat hasn't been so brutal and punishing on the plants. On the other hand, unlike July, which was super wet here and humid, August has been pretty dry. So I got spoiled in July because I didn't water the garden, but I've gotten back into my watering habits. But the absence of the intense heat and humidity has been a blessing and a good thing for the garden. So here you see what I call my outer garden. It's full of all sorts of things, and it's a bit of a wild and woolly place this time of year. You can see tons and tons of celosia that are planted here, and that is all self-seeded. I planted 3 celosia plants last year, and look at all the celosia that has just self-seeded in my garden. No problem though, because I just totally love it. In here I have some dahlias, which I grew from seed this year. And back in the back, you can see some cayenne peppers and fish peppers, and I also have serrano peppers tucked in there. I'm still battling lantern flies. There they are. But I have to say, it's not been as intense this year as it was last year. So here's a very happy little bee floating away. This was a flower bed. It's sort of done by now at this point. I really do just leave my flowers to go to seed. These are mainly perennials, and I have gorgeous flowers there. The Monarda was here. The Echinacea did really well. And those are now just food for the birds, which have actually been loving them. One of the things that was sort of a casualty of the July wet and humidity were my eggplants. Many of my eggplants have given up the ghost. This one's still hanging in. You can see it's got some new growth right here. And this one is still going. I've still been harvesting lots and lots of eggplants off of this. And you can see here's a little blossom as well. All right, down here is just the jungle. This Mexican sunflower, otherwise known as Tithonia, has been, this was self-seeded, and it has just been growing like crazy, and the pollinators adore it. This marigold, which is now over 6 feet tall, is also self-seeded. And you can see tucked down in here, these are some of the Japanese Trifele tomatoes that have grown over the fence and are sort of getting a second burst. Moving out here, you can see it's truly a jungle. To get in here, you really just have to start climbing over things. And I'm not going to do that right now, but you can see these are self-seeded random tomatoes, and they're just growing everywhere. In some ways, it's kind of a pain to have all these tomatoes self-seeded, but out here, it's actually kind of cool because it seems to be keeping the deer out. They can't really see what's in this bramble, and they don't love eating tomatoes, and so that's a win-win. And even though you can see these tomato plants growing over top of these blueberry bushes, the blueberry bushes are continuing to grow right along. Well, the sun's come out now, and everything's so beautiful and bright. Walking down here by this exterior tunnel are more marigolds. Again, these are over 6 feet tall. These are African cracker jacks, and they have just been perfectly glorious. Walking into where there's some pumpkins growing. I've got loads and loads of canned cheese pumpkins in here and some Seminole pumpkins. And under this tunnel, you can see it's full of long beans. And I have been harvesting those like crazy. Now, in the foreground here, this is lemongrass. And we've been harvesting this. And you can see, actually, where my brother-in-law cut some, it's growing right back. He cut it all the way down to here. And that was just last week. And it's already grown all the way up here. Now, I'll be doing some videos on what I'm going to be doing with this lemongrass. He was making tea from the leaves. Generally, you pull them out from the root and use them. So this will not winter over here, but it is a beautiful plant. And it's absolutely happy here on the edge of my garden. And it's pretty much absolutely disease-free. And that is a good thing. Here you see some of the cheese pumpkins. I have loads of them. I haven't counted them, but I know that there are probably 15 pumpkins in here. You can see on the older leaves some damage from the squash bugs. It's hard to get in there to get all the squash bugs, but I did a video a few days ago on how I've been dealing with them, particularly on the pumpkins. The one thing about the pumpkins is they will grow these secondary roots, and that helps them. So this is the crazy bramble of wild tomatoes. And I've been picking cherry tomatoes like crazy. I would say I have been picking about 5 pounds every 3 days, and most of those are from the self-seeded tomatoes. Here's the hops tunnel. We're going to be coming out here and harvesting these hops. They're definitely on the ready side once they start getting very papery, and you can get some, see that yellow resin? That's the pollen. That tells me these are definitely ready to pick. So here's some little Seminole pumpkins that are coming up. That's a little one and a little bit bigger right there. And these are far away from the patch. So the eggplant in this area, some of them are still rolling along. This plant still has production. I've got a little bit on some of the other plants as well. So we're just looking over at the blackberry bramble. These were deer pruned, but that's okay. And oh my goodness, look at this tomato hedge here. And I'm looking at this Kellogg breakfast tomato. Woo, that's a beauty, and it's coming with me, coming with mama. Look at that. Ugh. Now out on this side, I've got some watermelons, and I've actually harvested several watermelons already. The ones growing there, the one on the left side, the little one, that is a yellow watermelon called a moonbeam. And the one on the right is another moonbeam. And then up here, you can see in there is the crimson sweet. Here's another pumpkin plant rambling all over the place. And I can't remember if this is a tan cheese or a Cinderella pumpkin. Time will tell. I thought it was a Cinderella, but it might not be. Here's the clip dogga. I think I will not put this here next year, although it has kept critters away. It's a good 11 feet tall, and it's like a hedge. So I will put this someplace else next year so that more light can get into my pen. I have a whole bunch of butternut squash growing, and this is the butternut squash trellis. Less successful was this little guy. This was the Thelma Sanders squash, and it's a Pippo variety, and it just got hammered by squash bugs and critters. So I will not grow that again next year. Let's go into this beautiful, through this lower gate and go inside the garden. This is the gate that Sage made out of grapevines and found wood. Here you get a much better look at some of the butternut squash growing. Couple that are actually ready to harvest. So now we're looking up towards the west from the lower, what I call my big lower garden, my main garden. Oh, I've got all sorts of sweet peppers growing in here, and basil etc. I did a video a couple weeks ago about planting this fall things, and these are some carrots. There are also some beets and some spring onions. So those will be some of my fall vegetables, and you can see still self-seeding of the tomatoes. You do have to definitely be on top of those. So these are now, they're getting to be about 2 inches tall, and I'll be thinning those that need to be thinned. The beets seem to be doing pretty well. These are cylindra beets, I believe. I just love those zinnias. Here's just some potatoes that started to grow on their own. And these, I think, are Purple Majesty potatoes that I apparently left a couple in there from my spring planting, and they've just started a fall season. We'll get a few more potatoes off of those. Along this lower bed here is my lima bean tower. It's a trellis, and here is some fall chard that's planted right here that needs to be thinned out. And these are fall radishes. These are Spanish black round. And on this side are the watermelon radishes. And on the far end, needing to be thinned, this is prize choy. Definitely time to thin this out. I can use it for salads. This is where I cleaned out all of those tomatoes that had just taken over the entire area. And as a result, the tomato hedge, the planted hedge, is a whole lot happier. I've been harvesting regularly off of this as well. It sort of came back to life after I thinned out the wild ones and after the humidity and too much rain of July was over. All right, here's some of my fall plantings. Here are the first radishes that I planted about a week and a half ago. Yesterday I planted some more. They have not come up. We have some little cabbages, but they're getting some damage. Whereas these brassicas are doing okay. I have in this particular bed, this is where my tomato sauce patch was, and I have kale, I have cauliflower, I have some broccoli, and just a couple days ago in these brown bare spots that you see here, I planted some arugula and some more radishes. So you can see that the lima beans are coming along. I've been picking on this trellis, and these are not quite ready yet. They're not filled out. This one is getting there. You can see the shape of the bean, and that tells me that the pot is just about full. I do love my lima beans, and you can see there's plenty more coming along. This will continue to harvest until the frost. In this bed, I pulled out a whole bunch of green beans and other things, and I have some replanted squash, zucchini, and also yellow squash at various stages of development. And in the bare spaces, you wouldn't know this, but in these bare spaces, I have planted some fall vegetables, spinach, and I have planted some Chinese cabbages as well. And here's another long bean tower. I'll be coming out and getting those all winter. I guess you're probably wondering what I'm going to do with all these long beans. Well, we're eating them fresh, obviously, but I have also made some pickles, and I am freezing most of them to use during the winter time. Finally got a freezer here at the farmhouse. You can see over here that things are starting to wane a little bit, like these blue spice basils. I love this red sage. Very beautiful little delicate flower here. And these have just been going all summer long. The pollinators are crazy about them. Underneath the shade cloth, these are the lettuces that I planted about 9 days ago. Just did a video on their progress. All sorts of lettuces. They're about ready to get thinned out. You can see that they're all getting their first and second true leaves. Here's some more Henderson limas over here. And here are some cucumbers. These are the ones I planted late in hopes that they would avoid whatever issue was plaguing the earlier cucumbers. I had a lot of cucumber failure this year. Let's say I had all cucumber failure this year. Here's another hedge of orange sunsweet tomatoes. And this is my beautiful Trombacina squash tunnel. And also some Jubilee tomatoes growing up it. Over here we have some melons that are climbing. Now I don't like what I'm seeing here. This looks more of that like either squash bug damage or possibly, here's one little melon that's growing up. I've been having such problem with squash bugs and also the cucumber beetles. Inside here are more Henderson limas, and they are about ready to pick. You can see that this bean is filled out. That tells me they're ready. I've already had a couple of pickings off of there. Here is a grasshopper hanging out on the bean leaf. Hopefully he's not eating the bean leaf, but I suspect he is. All right. Take a look at my Tarambacina squash. This one I'm letting grow on to become a winter squash. These will be harvested for eating and freezing. And here's another volunteer tomato hedge. I've been harvesting this like crazy. And here was one of my few successful squash plantings. Planting them later seemed to be better. I've been harvesting on this for now about 2 weeks, and it's a pretty healthy plant. So all in all, things are looking pretty good here in the garden as we head into the month of September. We'll see what it brings. I am looking forward to getting all my fall things growing, and energy is back, because July was definitely kind of energy sapping with all the rain and all the humidity and all the high heat. Feels like fall today, and I'm pretty excited about that. Thank you so much for watching. Do consider, if you haven't already, definitely give a like, definitely share, because that helps me grow my channel, and do comment, and also subscribe. It's free. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're well. Take care.